This is video of the World Trade Center turning to dust that was aired live on September 11th, 2001. Look at the right-hand side of the smoke plume and you will see a spire of steel. This is steel core section of the World Trade Center that is turning to dust. If you look carefully, you can see that it begins to turn to dust right now. This was viewed from multiple angles and is available in any video of the September 11th, 2001 destruction of the World Trade Center. Photographs of this damage are completely inconsistent with any nonsense about jet fuel fires. Toto Vader refuses to respond to this evidence. This series of 4 photographs shows very clearly that steel core sections of the World Trade Center are turning to dust. There is simply no other way to explain this except through directed energy weapons. The Air Force has a directed energy directorate which possesses weapons which are capable of turning steel into dust. Conspiracy theorists refuse to look at the available data of the September 11th attacks and insist on using unsubstantiated rumors to justify their position. People who use evidence look at the available evidence and then come up with an explanation that fits the available data. You have seen steel turning to dust live on CNN. You have a photograph of steel turning to dust which has just been presented to you. I maintain that the most reasonable explanation for this steel turning to dust is that directed energy weapons were used on September 11th. Now, what does Toto Vader say caused the steel to turn to dust? He won't respond. What is he afraid of? There are very clear signs that directed energy weapons were used on September 11th, 2001. This fire engine was not hit by any falling debris. You can see that there is no large steel girder or World Trade Center or anything similar to that sitting on top of this fire engine. What's happened to the front end of the fire engine? It looks like it got melted by something. Was there a raging inferno at ground zero that burned up the building next to the fire engine? I don't think so. The fire engine is strangely wilted. Look at how the ladder on the top of the fire engine is bent. This is not caused by conventional weaponry. This is not caused by Arab hijackers with jet planes. This is not caused by ordinary office fires. This is highly unusual damage and it needs to be explained. I have an explanation for it. Toto Vader does not. Toto refuses to analyze the evidence of the September 11th attacks and instead just insists on a silly conspiracy theory that he heard on television which has never been proved. He has presented no evidence for what happened to this fire engine. This doesn't look anything like a pancake collapse. This looks like an exotic weapons strike. Again, the steel on the right-hand side has been hit by something like this. This is a directed energy weapon. Look at all the unburned paper in Lower Manhattan on September 12th. The paper wasn't burned up by a fire. This car wasn't burned up by a fire. It's been hit with electromagnetic weaponry, like this. This can shoot down. Toto, if you want to be a big boy, you have to man up and discuss the evidence. I have presented evidence to you. Steel turned to dust. Evidence was shown on CNN. There are other sources for the evidence. There are pictures of the evidence. You have a fire engine that looks half melted. You have a car that is upside down and has turned to jelly at ground zero. If you parked your car in a parking garage and that happened to it, you would say that something very unusual had happened. This is evidence that must be discussed. It's evidence that suggests exotic weapons were used on 9/11. Nothing heavy is sitting on top of the car, Toto. There isn't a raging inferno around the car to explain why it appears to be melted. You must explain that evidence. Otherwise, you have to admit that you're ignoring the evidence and you are a silly conspiracy theorist. Which is it going to be, Toto? You either have to address the evidence or you have to admit that you just simply believe government propaganda because it's convenient. Man up. respond.